Hey guys, real quick, a quick talk today. Let's talk about the guppy fish. You guys know what guppy fish are? The guppy. Guppy. And I guess you could put fish like that, right? So, choice. We all have choices. We all have choices that we make every day. We all have choices that are as insignificant as what clothes to wear and as important as who should we marry, right? And the problem though is that we always have to make a choice, any choice, with limited knowledge. Okay? Now, we're in the information age. We've never had this much knowledge, ever. At least access to the knowledge, right? But there's something called, and I've talked about it in talks before, something called bounded rationale. Okay? And what bounded rationale states is that you can only make a decision, any decision, or you can only rationalize something or understand logically something based on a series of parameters. And these parameters are clearly determined and they're fixed. For example, I'll give you one parameter. The time available to you to gather information to make a choice. For example, let's say I want to marry somebody. And one of the things I'm thinking about is, how can I choose the best person for me to be with? Well, there's a limited amount of time, namely the years that I may live or may not live, that I can gather data and then make a decision. This is a good person for me to date or to not date, or this is a good person for me to establish a relationship, a steady relationship or not, and then eventually this is a person I want to be engaged to and then eventually marry. But there's the time parameter is fixed. In other words, you can't stop time to gather your data and then make a decision. You can't. So that's part of that box. Okay? So where does the guppy fish come in this scenario? So the guppy fish are very, very interesting because the way that the females choose a male is very interesting. So basically, a female guppy fish, they look for the males that are the brightest colored males. And brightness equals good, right? And you'll find a lot of parallels, right? And yes, I intend to make those parallels. But and this is not, and a lot of times, and like, I always say, my assistant gets quite annoyed at me making these comparisons with dating. But again, the reason that I'm doing that is because that's the ultimate trust. If you can establish trust enough with somebody that they'll go out with you and they'll be in a relationship with you, they might live with you, they might marry you, then any other issue of trust, whether it's sales, whether it's marketing, whether it's friendship, whether it's persuading somebody, persuading the comp to let you go with a warning instead of a ticket, right? All those things will be easy because that's the ultimate trust. So this is kind of, in my mind lately, persuasion, connecting with people, giving value. This is actually one of the reasons that I give these talks. Not only because I like to develop the things that are in my mind, also things that I read, and I kind of, if I say them, then I can sort of relearn them, and then that works out better for me. So, but also to give value, and I've gotten actually, I'll take a little tangent off the subject to say I've gotten some crazy comments. I was just at this party like a couple weekends ago, and this guy just came out to me and said, "Gabe, I've been watching your videos and I quit my job because I wanted to focus on this thing, and you were right, now it's working out so much better." And I was just like, wow, okay, well, that's awesome. Thanks for that feedback. And then somebody else saying, a girl, she was telling me, "Oh, my boyfriend showed me your videos and they're so inspirational, and now I want to, get this job doing this, or I want to study that." And I'm like, wow, that's awesome. So thank you guys so much for the feedback. So that value that I'm putting out is coming back, right? So there you go. So that's so let's talk about the guppy fish, the females guppy fish, right? So they're looking for bright colored males. So bright in the guppy fish's minds equals good. Right? Good. So that seems simple enough. You are a female guppy fish. You just look out to what male is the brightest and you pick that one to, in this case, to mate with, right? So what gets really complicated is that the males actually, they will huddle together because they know that. They know that the females are picking the brightest color one. So they'll huddle together. So it gets really hard for the females to pick out which one is the brightest color. So here's what they do. This is very interesting. And we call this, in humans, we call this social proof. Okay? Because why? What the females will do, and they won't be able to distinguish which one is the brightest. So what they will do is they'll look at the other females to see which of those they're picking. And so they just go with him because they realize, well, I can't really tell which one is the brightest, but he must be the brightest because he's being picked. So this, in a certain biological sense, might work. Now, you can probably tell already that the parallel that I'm being drawn, just because everybody picks stocks or forex trading or real estate or to date this one girl or guy or to play a particular sport or to dress up or not to dress up in Halloween or to celebrate or not celebrate, that does not mean that is the right choice, right? This is social proof at work, because social proof can take you astray. Now, a lot of times it doesn't, right? Like if you're on a road and you're looking, you know, side by side, you realize, okay, all the cars are going this way. This must be the right way to go. And so a lot of times, social proof is a good thing. And so why did this happen? Well, it's because choice is a problem. It's a problem that we have to solve. And there's a limited amount of resources, a limited amount of knowledge. There's, for God's sakes, how many decisions can we make? For example, I'll give you an example. Really smart people like Mark Zuckerberg or even Steve Jobs, and then much earlier, Albert Einstein used to wear the same stuff every day. Now, are they trying to be mad scientists, trying to be weird? No. The reason that they're doing that is because it's one less choice to make. And now you might think, well, that's such a small choice, but it's really not. If you think about it, the same amount of what your brain uses when it processes any kind of information, we call it glycogen. And so glycogen, you can think of it as like brain fuel. And so the brain fuel, it's limited. There's only so many things you could do with it, and there's only so many hours in a day. So choice becomes a problem. So this is not a problem when, like I said, you know, maybe choosing a hairstyle, maybe choosing what clothes to wear. You know, you could sort of like manage. That's not bad. Especially if you do the guppy fish technique, right? You're looking at, I read this cool thing. It said that if you have a famous person's hairstyle, you become like something like 27% more attractive. That's crazy. Of course, it's a study, and I'm sure there's some kind of margins of error, but it's not. I don't think it's unreasonable. I think a lot of people do copy what is out there. So that's the guppy fish technique for hairstyle. I'm going to choose what everybody else is choosing because that might be the right thing, but it can lead you astray many times, right? And you know, I don't mean to draw a direct parallel between guppy fish females and the human females, but it does happen a lot, right? The guy that a lot of the girls are going for all of a sudden becomes sort of approved by that particular girl, maybe a really good looking one. And so the other girls were like, oh man, he must be brighter than the other ones. And so they go after him, which, you know, might be a good thing or might be a bad thing. So what's important here is not so much whether this takes place or not, because it's going to take place no matter what. Social proof is something that, you know, happens all the time. Just check it out. Check out any sales page in Amazon. You go to buy a book, and a lot of us will scroll down and we'll look at the reviews. That's social proof. Guppy fish. What are the other guppy fish reading? This must be a good book, or this must be a good product. And so that's an important thing, and it's something that happens automatic. Why? Because we have to choose, and we have to choose a whole lot of things. So our brain will always try to find shortcuts to choose the right thing, right? And with the right thing with the least amount of processing power. If you have to, sit down and do a market analysis on everything that you do, it's not going to happen. However, there are some things in life that you should do your due diligence, and you should look at all the factors and take it easy. The problem is that the same way that people choose what to wear many times is what they choose to study in college. Well, I'm just doing this because, my mom told me, or again, my friends are doing it. Social proof, because I heard that real estate is the best thing to go into, and so that may not be the case. So you have to be wary. So the main thing though that will allow you to be good at this is awareness. You need to be aware of what is happening, right? If your brain starts to lean towards a particular style of clothing, or a particular style of haircut, or a particular brand of car, you might realize, oh, it's social proof pulling me that way, which might not be bad. You might oh, you know what? For example, some of you guys know that I'm going to London, right? So one of the things I'm thinking about here in a couple weeks is, what kinds of things are there going to be there that are different? How can I work my way so that I don't necessarily, unnecessarily stand out? Maybe I want to stand out. A lot of times I tell my assistants, sometimes we go to some events and we are overdressed. Because whatever, maybe it's a dinner, and then everybody's wearing shorts, and she's wearing a nice dress, and I'm wearing maybe a sweater, maybe a suit, perhaps. And so I remember she told me one time, oh man, I feel like we're overdressed, and I said, no, we're not overdressed. They are underdressed, right? So it was because I wanted the perception of me, of my company, of what I was doing, or of me as a person to be that, right? There's of course times to wear jeans and just to be t-shirt and whatever, and then maybe if you do that. I remember years ago when I was 16, I was already going to the symphony and going to the opera. But one of the things that I did, I like to wear ripped jeans. I was a big a music person. I love playing, and I was into jazz and into different instruments. And so, but I was sort of a rebel. I used to wear a lot of bracelets and just cool clothing. I was like a rocker, and I used to wear the same clothing going to the symphony or the opera, where there's this guys that are much older, older couples, looking at me what is that guy? So I was getting attention, and I was sort of singling myself out, sort of subconsciously, and I wasn't really. I felt that, well, this is me, and I'm not going to pretend to be anybody else. And so there's nothing wrong with that. But again, sometimes you don't want to do that, or sometimes you do. The key of this talk, though, is awareness. When should you go where the other guppy fish are going and choosing? Because that's actually the right thing to do. Like in the example of the street, this is a one-way street. I should go this way. If I go this way, I might crash. So that's good. And when I should say, oh wow, everybody's going this way, but wait a minute, no, I can't go that way, because even if everybody's going that way, let me see, oh wow, no, they're ending at a street or a city that I don't want to end up. No, I want to end up on the other side of the city, whatever, right? So I really need to find a way to get to a street that takes me that way and not that way, just because everybody's going. So remember the guppy fish, just because everybody's going one way or choosing one thing or doing one thing, it doesn't mean it's the right thing, okay? We'll see you later, guys.